Hello everybody, this is Nash here, and do you know how many people in the world play Airsoft? It is estimated by the Center for Airsoft Statistics that there are 75,000 people in just the US who play Airsoft. And looking at their statistics, this is 39% of their whole subject base for where their statistics come from. This means there are around about 200,000 people in the world that play Airsoft at this current point in time. And every single one of those people have asked at some point, how do I start Airsoft? Where do I begin? Where do I play? What kind of gear do I get? Well, I'm making this video here today to try and answer those questions for you. And I'm answering those questions by asking a small portion of those 200,000 people, the community, as to what is the best advice that we can give as Airsoft to you, people who are just learning to play Airsoft.
The first piece of advice I have is by Jai Fraser. He says, find your local sites on Airbana and research them. See which one seems the best, or ask around on forums or Facebook groups. Call them up, rent a gun for a day, and go play. This is probably the best piece of advice that I've heard overall from anyone, because the first thing you need to do in order to find out how to play Airsoft is go research where you can actually play. You want to play on an actual site. Don't try and actually play in your backyard or anything like that, because you are in danger of alerting your neighbors, which can then get you in trouble with the police. Go and play on an actual site. If you search for Airbana on YouTube, you will be able to find a map to any Airsoft site which is located in the UK that you can still play at. There should be other facilities for this sort of thing, I imagine, for finding sites in the States as well as other places as well. So just have a little look around on Google.
Look past me, right? There's a dead guy, and just behind him there's a sniper, prone. You still managing here?
The second point which Jai makes is that you should always go out and rent a gun first. Don't go and buy a gun straight away. This lets you get a feel for if you actually will enjoy the sport. And if you do end up enjoying it, that's when you actually know that you should invest and actually buy a gun. It's an extremely fun sport, but you want to make sure that you actually enjoy it first. In addition to that, by actually playing, you can get a feel of what kind of gun you would actually want to use when you actually come to play Airsoft. You may not actually have a good idea beforehand, and if you buy a gun before you start playing, you might quickly change your mind as to what you actually want. On this, Anthony Doolin says, don't buy a gun straight away. Buy a decent footwear and face protection first. These are easily the two most important pieces of gear that you can buy in Airsoft. Especially when you're trotting around muddy areas or any kind of really bad terrain, you want to have very, very good boots. Something that is very comfy for your feet and will stop you from spraining your ankle on really uncomfortable terrain. You want to make sure that you also have very good face protection. This isn't just kind of talk about only eye protection. In the UK, this is something that you can get away with, but especially in the States, you need to have good full face protection when in the States, because the speeds at which BBs go at while you're in the US is a lot higher than what you will experience in the UK. If you're under 18, sometimes it's also a requirement to have full face protection as opposed to only glasses or goggles, so do make sure that you buy full face protection anyway. If you decide that it's too uncomfortable, then you can go on to move on to goggles or glasses later, but always start with full face protection. That's my recommendation. On this note, Ben Crowley says, safety first, look cool second. You always have to make sure that anything that you do, anything that you buy in Airsoft is always safe. Don't worry if it's a mask that you don't want to wear and it looks completely silly or anything like that. Just buy something which is safe and make sure that you won't be injured, because that can just ruin your day, and you don't want that to happen at all.
Ah! Oh, you bastard! Medic!
So, you finally found a site that you want to play at. Maybe you've brought along a few friends as well to have fun with. You all rented out a gun. Now, what do? You're out there to in the midst of all these kind of experienced airsofters, and you may not know how to properly play around them. One of the best bits of advice comes from Connor Young. Don't be afraid of getting hit. You're going to have a dull day sat behind cover, shooting at targets way out of range. One thing I find when playing Airsoft is I have the most fun when I'm getting shot. It sounds like a bit of a crazy thing, I know, but if you are in an area where you are likely to get shot, your adrenaline's going to be really pumping high, and you're just probably going to have a lot more fun than you're just sitting back shooting at players way out of range. One of the other things you need to understand in Airsoft as well is that you're not shooting real guns. These Airsoft guns have a limited range. So get in there, get in the danger zone, and actually have a good time. That's where you'll have the best possible time when playing Airsoft, and it's usually my best recommendation for how to enjoy yourself. If you want to know how to be a good player, and you're worried that you may not be a really good shooter, one of the most important things to note is to actually take your hit whenever you're in doubt, and just be courteous to everybody.
Hit! I don't think you hit me, but I'll take it anyway.
Matthew McMahon says, even if your day sucks, try to make somebody else's. You're all bad guys in somebody else's action movie. If you want to become a really good Airsoft player, one of the best things you can do is reward good plays by other Airsoft players. If somebody sneaks up on you and gets a drop on you, even if they haven't shot you or so, just take the hit anyway. If you're ever in doubt as to being hit as well, make sure that you actually take the hit. I always take my hits if I begin hesitating as to whether it was a hit, a ricochet, or a miss anyway. The one thing that you have to bear in mind as well, that these other players that are shooting at you, even if they don't quite get the hit or whatsoever, it really makes their day when they're having a really good play as to hitting people, even if it's kind of a squiffy kill or whatever. If you take your hits quite often, that will mean to other people that you are a really excellent player because you reward them with such a good time.
Back in. Hits. Well done. If you didn't lose count, it probably wouldn't have been so bad. I'm definitely dead.
So let's say now you've played your first game. You really want to get out there and actually buy an Airsoft rifle, but you don't really know where to start. Where do you get advice from? The best thing you can actually do is to ask other people advice. One of the best tips comes from Valento Zaboli. Don't be afraid to ask someone to look at their gun. When I was hiring, I asked nicely, and it lets you get a quick feel for the gun. Most people are real nice and will even give you a couple of tips. Now, one thing you need to remember is that Airsofters love their guns. And consequently, Airsofters love to show off their guns. If you ask someone to have a shot of their gun or just simply want to ask questions about it, you will usually be confronted with an avalanche of information and enthusiasm from these players as to their guns. That's what they love to show off, and people are usually really friendly when they want to talk about not even their guns, but their gear as well.
You're good. Move up!
Once you've done your research and you have in your head what gun you want to buy, you need to remember one very important rule. Ben Crowley says, you get what you pay for. Buy well instead of buying twice. It's a very simple, understandable rule. If you buy something that is really cheap, usually it will break on you pretty quickly, or it will just perform really poorly. Make sure you spend a decent amount on an Airsoft gun, and you will be rewarded with really good quality, and consequently a good time as well, where your gun isn't constantly breaking down on you. If you don't know what is the usual amount to spend on a decent Airsoft gun, go back to the previous rule I just mentioned. Ask other people what you should spend. Then you have a good guide. The last tip I want to leave you with is from Ben Roberts, and this is probably the biggest rule to carry in your head whenever you try and go into airsofting. Have fun. It's a game after all. Take your hits, even in doubt, and just learn from other players. Be sociable. Airsoft is a game, and games are usually something which we connect to the community with. One of the things you have to remember is that Airsoft players, 9 times out of 10, are really friendly and are there to have a good time. So connect with other people. learn about airsoft, just have fun banter. We're all a really, really good community that's really happy to welcome new players to it as well. So that's it for my beginner's tips for today. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I can do a further video as to more tips if you guys are wanting to know more information. But if you have any questions, just leave a comment in the comments section below and I'll answer it as soon as possible. If you want to see more airsoft content, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'll go over more tips and trick stuff in the future. And I'll see you guys next time.
How the fuck did you...
Oh, we're on.
You cheeky bugger.
Yeah.
Sneaky bugger.